Hey guys, this is Ariel from naturalholistic-homeopathic.com. I hope everyone's doing really well today. So in this video that you're about to watch, I'm going to show you how homeopathy and homeopathic principles can be found in the Bible. There's many different examples of homeopathy in the Bible, but today I'm going to show you 7 specific examples. There are different verses and different sections that demonstrate that homeopathy is in the Bible, and it's used in the Bible. I think if you're somebody that's very interested in medicine, religion, or that practices or uses medicine or is religious, I think you're really going to find this video to be very interesting and intriguing and very eye-opening as well. And I think you're going to enjoy it. So before I get into the actual examples, I want to first tell you a little bit about myself, and I also want to go through the 4 major principles of homeopathy, uh, just so that you understand who's presenting this, and also in regards to the principles, when you understand the principles, you'll better understand how more specifically it's shown in the Bible. So I've been studying homeopathy for the past 5 years. I'm currently, as of this date of February 2017, I am a student homeopath. I've taken in clients through student supervision under the guidance of a professional homeopath. And I also have been studying homeopathy for the past 5 years, and God willing, I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna finish my schooling in June 2017. Besides that, I'm also a Orthodox Jew. I'm an observant Jew. I've been studying homeopathy. I've been religious for the past 10 years of my life. I didn't start becoming religious though until I went to Israel. I went to yeshiva day school in America, but after my high school studies, I went to study more in Israel. I went to yeshiva right by the Western Wall. There's me on the right by the Western Wall. I studied an amazing yeshiva for a year and a half. Studied lots of Talmud, lots of Bible, and I also studied Jewish mysticism, Jewish philosophy, ethics, and a whole bunch of other topics. And it was really great. It's really one of the best experiences of my life. I really grew a lot religiously as a person, my character in many different ways as well. And that's where I really started to study Bible, and that's where I really started to gain a better understanding of the Bible, of the Torah, as Jews call it, and as along with its commentaries, and that's where the journey started. And after Israel, I studied for another 2.5 years in yeshiva in America, alongside my college studies, and that's also around the time when I started studying homeopathy. So when I started studying homeopathy, I I originally thought homeopathy is like most other medicines. It's you give a medicine for one thing, like in conventional medicine or herbal medicines, you give one medicine for one issue. In homeopathy, you do the same thing. Um, but as I got to study homeopathy more and more and more, I started to see how there's a more spiritual side to it. I started to see how you're not just healing diseases or I should say more ailments or illnesses. You're really healing people as a whole. You're using energetic, holistic medicines to really heal people as a whole on all different levels, mentally, physically, emotionally, and even to a certain extent spiritually. I also started to see how there's a lot of spiritual roots in homeopathy, in the Bible, in the Talmud, and in many other religious traditions as well. And it's something that's very interesting to me. I was very interested by it as an Orthodox Jew, as a religious person, as a very spiritual person. And in fact, many of my teachers have even shown that to me as well, and along with many of my rabbis. So that's in a very quick nutshell. That's my homeopathy and religious background in a nutshell. But before I go on, I want to tell you. I think it's important that you review the 4 principles of homeopathy. So the four principles are they go like this. The first one, the most major one, is like cures like, which basically means that you're healing people's diseases or issues or illnesses using the energy or a different format out of that disease. So I'll give you a very good example. Let's say somebody has burning of their skin. They have skin burn. So an example of a homeopathic remedy that you would give to heal that skin burn could be something like arsenicum. Arsenicum is made from arsenic. If you actually took physical arsenic right now and you put it on your skin, you will burn your skin. And you're an idiot if you do so. But when it's converted homeopathically into an energized remedy, into a homeopathic remedy, that actually has the capability of healing that skin burn. So we see that something in its original form harms you really can do the opposite effect, can really heal you. So that's the first example. The second principle is totality. Totality means that you're giving one medicine for the totality of all the symptoms and all the issues of a person. So which basically means that when I give a homeopathic remedy to somebody, I'm not just giving it for their anxiety or for their chronic body pain or eczema or OCD. I'm giving them a remedy for them as a whole person, for all their stuff, all their issues. And that's the real meaning of holistic. That's why it's a holistic medicine. The third principle is ponization. Ponization is when it is basically the process by which a remedy, it's part of the process by which a remedy is made. The whole idea is that remedies work best when they're ponized, which in homeopathy, the way we do it is that we dilute it and we convert it in a different format so the person can take it in a safe and effective way. The way remedies are made is a very complex process. There's many different explanations for how it works. For that, and if you have questions about that, you can always comment below or email me or contact me, and I can explain that to you in much more detail. And the last principle is minimum dose, which means that when we give homeopathic remedies, we don't want to give too much of it or too little of it. We want to give the right amount of doses with the right amount of potency, as you mentioned before. Because it's an energy medicine, it's an energy-based holistic medicine, and the whole goal of homeopathy is that you're as an energy-based holistic medicine, you're trying to heal people at their core. So what does that mean? We're all to explain very briefly, and homeopathy explains how all people, we have an energetic force in ourselves called the vital force. This vital force, this energetic property, this energy in us, is when it's balanced, this results in health and us being healthy, having no problems, no health issues. When it's not balanced, when it's deranged, this results in ailments physically, mentally, and emotionally, and to a certain extent, even spiritually. If you want to go down that path. So when we see people that come to us, or we see people that use homeopathy, or they go to homeopaths, the goal of the homeopath is to help bring that vital force back into balance. And we do that by using the right potency, as we mentioned before, and by giving it the right amount of dosage. So because this is an energy-based medicine, you want to give the right amount of dosage as possible. In homeopathy, a lot of times we give people remedies once, twice, 3 times, and that's it. And then we wait. We wait 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or whatever. We don't always give a remedy every single day unless the person really needs that support. And when you're dealing with energy medicines, you don't want to give too much energy to a person, because too much energy can overwhelm a person. It can overwhelm their vital force. It can excite their vital force too much. You want to give the right amount. You want to give the right amount of energy, energetic disposition, so that the body's energy can read it, and can use it to heal itself on its own in a safe and effective manner. So again, there's more to it than that, but that's the basic explanation of it. So we're going to see most, or if not all of these principles in different sections of the Bible right now. So the first example I want to show you, this is, first example is from Exodus. More specifically, this is from Exodus. This is in this part of Exodus right after the story of the splitting of the Red Sea. After the miracle of the Red Sea, what happened is that the Jews are in the desert. They just left Egypt. By the way, when I talk about the children of Israel or the Israelites, I may also use the word Jews because they were Jewish, more or less. So if you get confused by that, forgive me. But Jews, children of Israel, Israelites, in this context, it's all the same, referring to the same people. So when the children of Israel left Egypt, they went to a place called Marah. In Marah, they tried looking for water, but what happened was that they couldn't find. They found water, but it wasn't drinkable. It was bitter water. So what happens? They go to Moses. They complain to Moses. They say, "Hey Moses, we have this bitter water, but we can't drink from it. It's not drinkable." So here's what it says in Exodus. Exodus 15:24-5 says, "The people complained against Moses, saying, 'What shall we drink?' So he, Moses, cried out to the Lord, and the Lord instructed him concerning a piece of wood, which he cast into the water, and the water became sweet." So what happened here in Marah? We see here a perfect example of homeopathy. The water they wanted to drink was bitter. What's the solution? God tells him, take a piece of the bitter branch, take this bitter branch, put it in the water, it's going to sweeten the water. So we see homeopathy, like the principle of like cures like, because God told Moses to use something bitter to sweeten the bitter water, which is what happened. You use only a piece of it. You only use one, and you only use one dose. So we see examples of minimum dose, and obviously totality, because that was enough to promote healing, to fix the water, and so we see a perfect example of homeopathy, especially of the principle of like cures like. So we see even Moses was a homeopath, even before Hahneman, the founder of homeopathy in the late 1700s. So in a nutshell, that's one example of homeopathy in the Bible. Let's go to the next one. So here we have the story of the golden calf. Now what happens in the golden calf story is that Moses, we all know the story. Moses comes down from the mountain. He got the 10 Commandments from God, and he sees the children of Israel are worshiping the golden calf. Actually, to point out, by the way, just as a tangent side note, the most of the children of Israel actually didn't worship the golden calf. It was actually the mixed multitude. In Hebrew, we call it the Erev Rav, that came out of who were the Egyptians that converted to Judaism and left with the Jewish people when they left Egypt. So they actually are the ones that protested it. But the reason why that worshipped it. But the reason why the Jews were punished was because most of them did not protest the people that were worshiping it. Just a side note. So what happens here? Moses sees the golden calf. He goes, he destroys the golden calf. He smashes it. He converts it into powder. Puts it in water, and he gives it to the Jewish people to drink. Verses say, Exodus 32:20 says, "Then he took the calf that the Israelites had made, burned it in the fire, ground it to fine powder, scattered it upon the surface of the water, and gave it to the children of Israel to drink." So there's a good question. There's an interesting question here. Why would Moses give the Israelites the powder of the golden calf to drink? Like, what's the purpose of it? What is that going to do for them? So in the answer I'm going to give you, which is based off different commentaries, we're also going to see another example of homeopathy in another place of the Bible. So the answer goes like this. What Moses was doing here was he was performing the procedure of the wayward wife, or in Hebrew we call it sota. And this procedure, what is this procedure? If you look in the book of Numbers, it talks about the book of Numbers, the procedure a person goes through with a wayward wife. So the background is that let's say you have a guy, husband and wife, and the husband tells the wife, "I don't want you to be to be alone or to be with Joe." Let's say it's the name of another guy. She says, "Okay." And what happens is that the husband suspects, whether it's through a witness or through whatever way he finds out, or he gets suspicious, he thinks that the wife is alone with the guy, or somebody tells him, "Hey, we saw this girl alone with the guy," or whatever. So this gets the husband suspicious. The husband thinks that because she may have been alone with this guy, she may have cheated on him, and he suspects her of adultery. So there's a whole process of how he brings his wife to the temple or to the priest, the high priest. Sorry, to the priest, the Kohanim. And the priest, they make her go through this whole process, and in order to demonstrate that she's innocent or guilty. Now, in part of the process, what they're doing is that, among other things, they give her a meal offering, which consists of flour and other things. They put it in water, and in this same solution of water, they also put a scroll which contains the verses in Numbers that talk about the wayward wife procedure, the sota procedure. So they mix all that together, and they give it to the woman to drink. They give it to the lady to drink, the wife. So if the wife drinks it, and she's innocent, then she'll stay alive. And not only that, but the water, the power of the water, the water will cause her to have children. And if she already has children, she'll have more children, among many other blessings as well. And there'll be marital harmony, and all will be well. But if not, if she's really guilty and she really did go alone with the other guy, with Joe, and cheated with him, then what happens is the waters, they cause the woman's belly to swell up, and she dies, and she blows up to pieces, and she dies. So as the answer goes on like this. There's an analogy between God and the children of Israel. God is like the husband, and the Israelites are like a wife. It's kind of hinted in the Song of Songs, Shir Shirim, as we say in Hebrew. So what happened here, the story of the golden calf, was that God gave the Jews, the Israelites, the Ten Commandments and the Torah, which is analogous to a wedding contract, because it bound the children of Israel to God. They became God's chosen people. So when the children of Israel, they go and they sin with the golden calf, that was as if they were, so to speak, cheating on God. They didn't keep their deal of the relationship. So in order to clean them of this suspicion or of this sin, Moses made them go through this whole wayward wife sota-like process. And through this process, whoever is really innocent would stay innocent and would get the blessings of the water. And whoever was guilty, they would die from the water. So we see in both these cases, in Numbers and in Exodus, a perfect example of homeopathy. Because we see the water, which contains the actual verses of this procedure, along with the meal offering, all these things, they can heal a person of their calamity, of their spiritual ailment, of being alone with the guy who's sinning. They can either cause the person or the group in the case in Exodus, to not only live but to have more and more children, or in the opposite manner, it could also cause them to die and to blow up to pieces. So we see a second example of homeopathy. Again, this I know this is a long and lengthy and complicated explanation. If it's still a little bit confusing to you, leave a comment on the bottom and I can explain it better. But that's the second and third example of homeopathy in the Bible. Let's go to the next one. So the next example is the example of in Leviticus. If you look at Leviticus 14 talks about the cleansing process that a person goes through if he's afflicted with, in Hebrew we call it saras or tsarat. Many Bibles translate it as leprosy, but it's not exactly a very accurate translation. In the article I put with this video, I actually wrote leprosy just to make it easy for people to understand the topic, but the basic idea is that the passage in Leviticus, it's talking about it's very rare and weird type of skin lesion that erupts randomly in a person. So in Leviticus 14, it goes through the process that a person afflicted with this illness gets healed, gets treated. So there's many different ways they can get treated. One, in verse 22, it talks about that if a person is poor and he has this tzara, this leprosy-like condition, he can give 2 turtle doves as an offering. By doing this will heal him of his skin condition. So the question is why? What does 2 turtle doves have to do with leprosy or tzarat? So the answer goes. So there's an answer given in some of the biblical commentaries, and they talk about how the whole punishment behind tzarat, behind this type of leprosy, the reason why a person can get this skin condition is because of negative speech, like gossip. People talk negatively about another person. They speak badly another person. This guy's a schmuck. This guy is this. She's stupid. She's that. She's ugly. Whatever. Any negative, not so nice speech. So spiritually, this sin manifests as this type of skin condition. This is the punishment given to that person. So the reason why turtle doves are given is it's very measure for measure actually, because turtle doves, birds, especially doves, they chirp a lot. They talk a lot to each other. They talk, chirp. So we're using something that talks a lot, and it's birds, so it's not the most, I don't want to say it's not the most positive speech. They're just birds, but they talk a lot. Just as a person, when he talks a lot, it leads to negative speech a lot with regular people. So too, birds, they chirp a lot. So we're using birds, which their issues to talk a lot, to treat somebody who spoke a lot, which led to negative speech. So talking heals talking. I just came up with that right now. So the constant chatter of a bird, when it's sacrificed for the person, that has an energetic effect to heal the person. So we see like cures like. It's potonized, it's burnt, diluted, it's used in a different energetic form. You just do it one time, and it heals the person as a whole, and it's holistic, because it's not just treating the skin condition, it's leading them to repent. And when they repent, they change their whole outlook, in their mind, body, soul, emotionally, and that manifests physically as well. So we see another example of homeopathy here. I think it's very interesting. Let's go to the next one. So, if you ever looked at an ambulance sign, at an ambulance car, you ever see this sign? Boom, right there. So, if you ever look at the ambulance signs, there's a rod with a snake wrapped around it. So, it's very, very interesting. Why is it that ambulances, they have this symbol on their cars? Some of you may actually know this. And there's different, and if you look at Wikipedia or other sources, they say that the reason why they use the snake is because the snake was used in Greek mythology for healing, which is true. It's 100% true. And in many other mythological sources and traditions. But we see one of the earliest uses of this is also in the Bible. Where in the Bible is this used? It's used in Numbers, chapter 21, verses 5 to 9. So let's read the verses very quickly. We'll see how this is relevant. They journeyed from Mount Horeb by the way of the Red Sea to circle the land of Edom, and the people became disheartened because of the way. The people spoke against God and against Moses, and they said, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in this desert? For there is no bread and no water, and we are disgusted with this rotten bread." The Lord sent against the people the venomous snakes, and they bit the people, and many people of Israel died. The people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he remove the snakes from us." So Moses prayed on behalf of the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make yourself a serpent and put it on a pole, and let whoever is bitten look at it and live." Moses made a copper snake and put it on a pole, and whenever a snake bit a man, he would gaze upon the copper snake and live. All right. So what happened? In a nutshell, what happened here? There is because of their sins, the children of Israel were punished with snakes. These snakes all came. God caused all these snakes to come and bite them, and they bit, and it was so poisonous they caused them to die. So God said. So when the people decided to repent, God told Moses to God gave Moses a solution to heal them. He said, "How are you going to heal this plague? This is what you're going to do. You're going to pull up with a snake wrapped around it, a copper snake. And when the people look at the snake will heal them." So they did that. Moses enacted it, put it up. Wherever all the Jews that were bitten by the snake, they looked up at the copper snake and they were healed. So again, another perfect example of homeopathy. We see like cures like. We see the copper snake, we see that was able to heal the snake bite. Snakes are healing snakes here. It's poetized. It's in a completely statue energetic form, metaphysical form. It's not healing in the same way with an actual snake. Totality, it heals it. The people not only heal physically but spiritually as well, because they repented, and they only need to look at it the minimum one time, maybe two. Maybe some of them were spasms, looked at it 2 times. Who knows? But they didn't need to look at it for too long to get healed. That's for sure. So that's another great example of homeopathy, and it's very ironic also because many people in the medical conventional establishment, they don't like homeopathy, but the symbol they use on their ambulances and in their ERs and their hospitals and their cars, it has something which is a complete symbol and use of homeopathy. So it's just very funny. It's very it's hilarious. All right, let's go to the next one, which is the red heifer, or however you pronounce it, the red cow. So it's very interesting. The red heifer is one of the most difficult passages to understand in the entire Bible. Even King Solomon, who was the wisest person of all time, he writes in Ecclesiastes. I don't know how to say it in English. I know in Hebrew it's Kohelet. That's how it's pronounced. In chapter 7, verse 23, he basically talks about how he knew everything in the world. He knew the whole Bible. He knew everything there is for a man to know, but he couldn't understand the deeper concept of the red heifer. So one thing he couldn't put his finger on. King Solomon, wisest person ever. So just to give a quick background, the red heifer was used in biblical times before the temple was destroyed. The red heifer was used to purify people of certain types of spiritual impurities. So there's a question brought up: Why is it that we use a cow to heal spiritual impurities? More specifically, the ashes of the red heifer. Why are we using the ashes of the red heifer to heal spiritual impurities? And why is it the red heifer has to be red? So there's an answer given in Jewish tradition that, to make a long story short, the red heifer is used to sort of to fix the whole sin of the golden calf that we mentioned before. How is this supposed to be a fixed spiritual fix of the sin of the golden calf? So the Kabbalists, they explain it like this. They talk about how, and I think the Talmud also explains it too, how when the Jewish people sin at the golden calf, what happened is that they lost an opportunity to be spiritually pure, to be fully connected to Hashem forever and ever, to God forever and ever. Because what happened? They were at Mount Sinai, and at Mount Sinai, they were there to receive the Torah, the Ten Commandments. And that was supposed to be the complete, ultimate repair, spiritual fix of the entire purpose of creation. That was supposed to be the completion of creation. Because what's the whole idea of creation? One of the ideas brought down is to bring God into this world, is to reveal God into this world, as taught in Jewish tradition. So through Mount Sinai, that should have been the final. That should have been the completion of creation, spiritual completion. Or when the Jews sinned the golden calf, they not only lost that incredible opportunity to fix themselves and the whole creation as a whole, but they also, because what they did was so bad, they actually brought down this whole other level of spiritual impurity into the world. And this spiritual impurity, whether it's through a dead body or through many other different ways, this spiritual impurity has the power to spiritually contaminate a person. So in a way of measure for measure, God brought the red heifer, the law of the red heifer, to basically to fix this spiritual damage that the golden calf caused. So the rabbis in the Talmud, they say it like this. They have a saying. They say, let the cow, which is the red heifer, come and atone for the other cow, which is the golden calf. That basically says the idea that the whole purpose of the red heifer is to fix the sin of the golden calf. So we see this is, and also why is the red heifer? That was the first question. The second question is, why does the red heifer have to be red? And the answer is because red represents sins. If you look in Isaiah 1:18, God talks about how when the children of Israel will repent to me, their sins will become their sins that are red will become white like snow. So we see that sins, the color red represents sins. That's kind of why also in movies, when they show villains and stuff, they dress them up in black and red, or something not appropriate, they wear red. It's metaphorically represents sins. So what's the bottom line here? We see the red heifer is homeopathic in nature. Why? Because the red heifer is used to spiritually heal, spiritually fix the spiritual contamination, which is caused by the golden calf. The golden calf ultimately cause a person to get spiritually contaminated through certain different ways. But when a person takes the ashes of the red heifer in a potonized, diluted, different format, that's going to heal it. That's going to heal the contamination. So we see the ashes of the cow heal the spiritual damage of the cow. And it's red, which is something that represents sin, but that redness takes away the sin, so to speak. So we see another example of the principles of homeopathy in action with the red heifer. It's amazing. So now for the last one, the last example of homeopathy I want to show you. This one is much easier. This one's more simple than the last two explanations, the last two examples I gave you. This is regarding the story of Elisha. Elisha desalinating the water in Jericho. So I'm not going to read the verses to you. I don't want to bore you, but basically what happens is that Elisha goes to the city of Jericho, and the inhabitants of Jericho, they go to Elisha and they say, "Hey, Elisha, our water is very bitter. We have very bitter water. We can't drink it. We need to figure out a way to to sweeten the water so that we can drink it again. So what does Elisha say? He says, and I'll quote it from the second book of Kings. He says, "Take me a new jug and put salt therein." So what he did is basically he took a jug of water. He put salt in the water, and he pours it into the water supply, the salty water supply, and it sweetens the water. That's a very simple example of homeopathy. I don't even know if I have to explain that so much. If like cures like, salty water is sweetening salty water, like in the story of Mara. It's one dose. Its totality fixed everything, and a minimum dose. And yeah, it's homeopathy. It covers all four principles. I'm blanking out on what the fourth principle is, but it covers that. Oh, and it's potentized. Sorry, and it's used in a different potency. It's mixed with water. It's diluted. It's energetically more potentized. So that's the last example of homeopathy. Those are the 7, and I want to thank you for watching this video. If you see more videos on homeopathy or natural health or holistic health or anything related to those things, you can subscribe to my YouTube page below, or you can check out my website, which is naturalholistichomeopathic.com, and you can check it out and see more posts, more videos, some cool products and services that can really enhance your well-being. Hope you enjoyed this video, and take care.